Final testimony. Okay, Mr. Warrick, anytime.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Thanks for letting me testify. My name is Ray Warrick, and I reside in Mason, Ohio. I come before you today as a citizen, a Tea Party member, and a member of the Ohio Liberty Council. Our groups stand for fiscal responsibility, limited government, and free markets. We are drawn to the issue of Senate Bill 5 because of the macro concerns of our three basic tenets. In many ways, the spectacle of the Senate Bill 5 debate is truly sad. It's one of these occasions where certain power brokers pit citizens against each other to achieve their goals of self-preservation, retention of power, and continued access to the taxpayers' money. The message that they're screaming is that the proponents of Senate Bill 5 are somehow against police officers, firefighters, and teachers, and other innocent public rank and file. That is both false and ridiculous. In my case, my family contains generations of former and current police officers, firefighters, and teachers. I respect and admire them for the work they do. I always have. But because I support Senate Bill 5, they are told they must now hate me. I understand and accept that, but it doesn't matter to me. I do not hate them. I will continue to respect and admire them no matter the outcome. As citizens and taxpayers, we expect and support core services, certainly, like fire and police protection. The brave rank and file that patrol the streets and staff life-saving equipment are not the main issue here. But they're being used unfairly as pawns in this emotional theater. These folks do their jobs as bloated administrations and powerful unions trade favors and money to keep both of their kingdoms ever growing, with many things that have little to do with the jobs of the frontline workers. In fact, these things interfere with the daily work and make their jobs more difficult. So police and fire personnel, along with other public employees, are trapped in an expensive, overbearing, out-of-touch system that is not of their making. Decisions about headcounts, levels, and types of staffing, pay, benefits, and pensions must be driven by reasonable resources available in and demanded by the larger free market. I don't think it's the cost of the frontline rank and file jobs that's even close to the real issue here. The problem is this system of funding and favoritism that heaps layers of unneeded administrative cost and meddling that strangle governments with inefficient regulations and mandates. This stuff is the elephant in the room that never seems to go away. The nonsensical hierarchy always outlasts the poor frontline worker. In fact, when we have to tell the poor frontline worker we can no longer afford his job, we are actually then aggressively lobbying for more hierarchy to protect against having to fire more workers. That causes the spending of more unproductive money that eats up the funds available to keep productive workers in place. It's also mind-boggling that it almost defies explanation. To explain what I mean, I'd like to offer a little parable. Once upon a time, the government had a vast scrapyard in the middle of a desert. Congress said someone may steal from it at night, so they created a night watchman position and hired a person for the job. Then Congress said, how does the watchman do his job without instruction? So they created a planning department and hired two people, one to write instructions and one person to do time studies. Then Congress said, how will we know the night watchman is doing the task correctly? So they created a quality control department, hired hired 2 people, one to do studies and one to write reports. And then Congress said, how are these people going to get paid? So they created another 2 positions, a timekeeper and a payroll officer, and hired 2 people to fill those roles. Then Congress said, who will be accountable for all of these people? So they created an administrative section and hired 3 people, an administrative officer, an assistant administrative officer, and a legal secretary. Then Congress said, we have had this command in operation for 1 year and we are $918,000 over budget. We must cut back. So they laid off the night watchman. This scenario played out in real life recently in Camden, New Jersey, where years of irresponsible government spending and management finally ran the well dry. Almost half of the Camden police force and nearly a third of the city's firefighters were fired because money shortage became so severe. Now the city administration and the union leaders are pointing fingers at each other, when they probably worked in harmony over the years to build their respective dynasties. Now many frontline employees are out of work there in Camden. The elected officials and the union bosses still have their jobs. The huge irony here is that the city of Camden has one of the highest crime rates. This is quite a stark example of government failing in its responsibilities. The citizens are left safe, and rank and file people have lost their jobs. Oh, and you can bet no one's taxes went down because of the reduction in services. We're not in Camden, you might say. No, we're not in Kansas either. Nor are we in the land of Oz, and we can't continue to kick the can down the yellow brick road. All responsible citizens want to pay for solid core services. Responsible, law-abiding citizens will be fair and expect fairness from elected officials when dealing with public employees. These citizens pay for all of this, and they are not being treated fairly. These onerous labor agreements do not give us a fair voice as to how our money is spent. Senate Bill 5 does not say what anybody's pay or benefits will be, so I would ask the public employees to place some trust in the fair spirit of the vast number of average citizens. I doubt, and I can hear they don't agree with that now, but again, my quarrel is not with them. It's with the power brokers who are the architects of these structures of destruction. The taxpayers weren't involved in the designing of these unsustainable systems. Our only involvement was to pay for it all. Now it's somehow our fault that we don't see the wisdom of paying more. You can call us all the names you want, but we love our state and our country too much to stand by and watch this madness further perpetuate. By the way, it is our money. We pay for it all. The real debate here is the size of government. Government is too big, costs too much, and is entirely too intrusive and inefficient. Useless, costly programs are added all the time and approved by legislators in this very building. Your average taxpayer has no idea what most of these programs are, what the programs are for, or why we have them in the first place. All they know is that they pay for this bloated monster of a government, and the math shows us that the dollars of the many pour into a system that benefit the few. This should be a state that has a government, not the other way around. Our state is broke. It needs to be fixed if it is to be saved. Senate Bill 5 is a cornerstone legislation that will eliminate restrictions that are placed upon elected officials at all levels of the state. We are frequently reminded that there is little that can be done to properly manage expenses with these restrictions. There's a lot more work to be done after Senate Bill 5, but without it, there are many things that can never be done to bring down the cost and size of the runaway government. The purpose of my testimony is not to dive into the numbers or the details of the fine print. I think one of our problems with government is there's too much fine print. I'm here today because I've never been here before. I'm here today because the opposition to this bill can be and will likely be here every day. Their proximity and work schedule arrangements make it possible for them to be ever present and vocal. They are entitled to their access and point of view. As a grateful and indebted American to those who died so we can have these rights, I am thankful for everyone's ability to express their point of view. Unfortunately, it's hard for people like me to be here because of work responsibilities. While there are a few of us citizens here today who are urging passage of SB 5, it in no way demonstrates the full support that is out there across the state. There are thousands like us who are not in this room today, nor will ever be in this room. Please don't mistake that for a lack of commitment or the absence of support. The people who are not in this room and who will never be in this room because of their responsibilities decided to vote for many of you and place you in a position of majority rule in the legislative chambers and the state offices. We wanted to give you another try at cutting the size and cost of government. You have a very, very tough work to do. You must be creative, tireless, and brave. We know that you will have to make some sacrifices and do things differently. It will not be easy. You will be taking the heat every day. We are here to stand with you and support you. You will not see us or hear us every day, but I think you know there are thousands of ordinary citizens across this state that are counting on you. Our eyes are wide open, so please don't let us down this time. You see, the people not in this room and will never be in this room have been fooled and disappointed by politicians who promised fiscal responsibility but did the opposite. The people who are not in this room and will never be in this room have listened to politicians call for cutting back the size of government while they went about the business of making it bigger. The people not in this room and who will never be in this room have put up with hearing platitudes about making the state more business-friendly, only to get hit with more regulations on the free market activity. People not in this room and will never be in this room pay for all of this, and they would like their voices to be heard. Please know that, even if you don't hear and see them every day inside the state capitol bubble, they are out there every day doing their jobs. Please do yours. Please fix the state. Please cut the spending. Please do not plan on begging for another federal bailout. Ohioans have more pride than that, and we certainly have the talent to get this fixed. We all know that it's tough to start with an emotional bill like Senate Bill 5, but hard, emotional work must begin now. Senator Jones has shown the courage to introduce this bill, and now we need all of you who profess to be fiscal conservatives to hang together and get this bill passed. Since this bill isn't as strong as many of us would have liked, hanging together also means moving forward without watering it down. It's really simple. This is a dispute between those who want bigger government and those who want to cut the size of government. Those who want bigger government are against this bill, and they are clear about it. I don't agree with them, but I appreciate their straightforwardness. They will continue to get union support. So we have to look to the rest of you. If you are really for smaller government, the time to make changes is now. Historically, some have sought middle ground on tough issues like this. I'm not sure that makes sense now. It's lost on me what could possibly be gained by that. Our state is broke. The goal isn't to make it half broke by offering up ineffective symbolic solutions. We would rather you just join the side of bigger government, or at least they're honest about it, than be caught in an awkward straddle that leaves you hopelessly exposed. You see, more ordinary taxpayers are watching all of this more closely than they ever have before. We've put our faith in you. Please don't let us down. Also, I would ask everybody not to get too hung up on the intensity of this debate. That's what Americans do. We have the right to disagree on the size and direction of our government. This debate never really ends. Those of us for smaller government have been guilty, I'm afraid, of being too silent for too long. So we are entering this debate vigorously now. But we respect our fellow Ohioans who disagree with us. These squabbles will come and go. The larger things are always present. We will always be proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with them as residents of Ohio and citizens of our great nation. And as children of God, we will always have the unbreakable bond of being brothers and sisters. I thank you for your time and letting me testify. I thank you for your public service. Please pass this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Warrick. Any questions for the committee members? Senator Shimon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Warrick, you talk about in your testimony how you want to stand shoulder to shoulder, you want to work together. It's a shame that we're all here for this emotional bill. But then you say that this bill isn't as strong as many of us would have liked. And the bill is pretty much destroying collective bargaining and taking people's rights away from sitting at the table and negotiating important things about their business. So I'm not sure how, I guess the question is, if you want to work together and you want to talk about, lowering taxes and shrinking government, but you are also saying that this is too weak, how does saying that this is too weak and taking people's rights foster any working together?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Shimon, I'm not here to dive into the details of it. I don't think we need a collective bargaining vehicle at all, but please don't mistake that as I somehow feel we should be unfair to each other. I think people are basically good and they're fair, and I think and I have faith that we could proceed on that basis.
Chair, one follow-up. I think people are good and fair too, and I think that that's why everybody's here, whether you're for or against the bill. You just want to get your voice heard, and that's all right. But you said you don't want to dive into the details, but you're here as a proponent to this bill. So I'm not sure, were you just coming to speak generally about your ideas, or were you coming to speak to this bill?
Well, that's up for you to decide, I suspect. I was speaking generally. I stated in my testimony that I really wasn't going to dive into the details. I apologize about that, but there's plenty of folks that will dive into the details.
Thank you.
More questions? Thank you, Mr. Warrick. Appreciate your testimony.